Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Was Exiled After He Brought Sasuke Back, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 1 year later, Naruto Uzumaki had changed in the 15 months since his exile from Konoha. He'd put on some wiry muscle mass, his features had become more slender, his hair longer and was now tied back in a ponytail. His features had a hint of the fox as his ears now had slight points to them, his whisker marks were deeper and his canine teeth were a bit longer. He'd even allowed Mika to add black highlights to his hair one night when they were bored while Master Kwai was off playing shogi. Since the day of fighting the bandits, Naruto spent more time training, his mental capacity increased as he learned through meditation and the use of kage bunshin. He'd originally planned on having 100 clones read Master Kwai's library, till Q scolded him. Flashback. Kit, that's not a good idea. Your mind is a mess. Till you clean up in here, I wouldn't do that. Well, how the hell do I do that, Q? Naruto said. He was once more outside the seal and he looked around the sewer that was his mindscape. There are techniques I will teach you. They will help you when I start teaching you the way of the Zetnin later on. QB said. You ever going to tell me more about that? Naruto asked as he got comfortable in a lotus position. When you're ready. You can't run before you learn to walk, Kit. Your time with Kwai has done wonders for your kenjutsu and taijutsu. Your work with the dragon Hanyu has cleaned up years of neglect on your chakra control. Would you stop calling Mika a Hanyu? He's not a demon, Naruto said. Snort, Kit. He's at least 1/4 demon blood in his veins. He may be several generations down, but it's there, just like that freak that worked for the snake team. Kabuto, the one that nearly killed you and your adopted granny. Naruto remembered that battle. The chakra strike to his heart had nearly killed him if not for Tsunde's determination and Kyuubi pushing a large amount of chakra into the wound to form a chakra bandage until Tsunde was able to save him. Now, once we organize your thoughts, I'm going to teach you an ancient form of protection to shield your mind from nin like that Yamanaka. From Ino. Why? Other than the obvious? Naruto asked. Kit, there are beings out there that are strong, Sai. They have abilities that make some of the stuff you ninja look like idiots for going about it the hard way. QB said. Now, to clear your mind. End flashback. Once his mind had been cleaned and organized, he'd learned how to alter his mental landscape. It no longer was a sewer, instead it was the streets of Konoha and surrounding forest. The QB's cage was gone as well, instead the fox was allowed to roam, but the seal was now a collar around the fox's N, the seal etched into the metal band. Naruto's use of kage bunshins to learn was only 3 at a time and he'd dispel them an hour apart to prevent himself from a mental overload. He would then spend 3 hours in meditation with Kyuubi organizing them and putting them in mental scrolls in the center of his mind, the Hokage Tower, which he'd added runes to, in case anyone got through the mental maze and traps he'd designed. And if they get past Q on top of that, Naruto thought with a chuckle. Kyuubi agreed to help protect his mind, should someone get past the traps and maze. Another thing to change was Naruto's wardrobe. Mika with help of several of the villagers managed to get Naruto a new look and burn his old clothes. Naruto had to laugh remembering how his friend had done it. Flashback. Come on, Ruto, a soak in the springs will ease up those muscles and we can meet Master Kwai in the village before the harvest celebration begins. So Naruto's down to his boxes slipped into the hot spring they'd found on the east side of the mountain. He was relaxing and was just about to put his head back when he saw his clothes floating on the air. He turned and saw Mika smirk before the clothes went flying away and into the arms of several of the village youths. Hey! Naruto cried out, standing up to give chase, only to have a gust of air slam into him and knock him over. By the time he'd emerged from the air-assisted dunking, the kids were gone with his clothes. Damn it, Mika. Naruto rounded to find his friend standing away from the spring with a box hovering in the air. Enough is enough, it's time for a change, Mika said. Master Kwai can get away wearing orange, he never leaves the mountain. You however stand out like a pervert at a onsen during Women's Day. Naruto growled and Micah growled right back. The villagers got together and made you these, he said, putting the clothes down. Naruto, still in the water, untied the string around the box and opened it. There were brand new pants with orange stripe down the sides of the legs. He saw the pants had numerous pockets. There were new shirts, long and short sleeve, and Naruto smiled that while they were black there were orange tiger stripes around the ribs. There were also new boots and fingerless gloves with metal plates on the back of the knuckles. And this is from me, Micah said, drawing his attention. Hanging from a branch was a brand new jacket. It was a rust orange that was dark, and on the back was the symbol for the fox merged with the spiral design of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto looked at him speechless. He was unsure how to express his thanks and he swallowed the lump in his tea. They accept you, Kit. And those clothes are better than that orange monstrosity you wore. Q added his to Ryo. End flashback. Naruto shook his head and looked over his shoulder. Micah too had changed a bit. His hair was longer, and his face was a bit more angular. Right now he was playing on his dragon bone flute, his eyes closed as the melody washed over him and filled the air with its calming tunes. Over the past 15 months the pair had learned a lot about sword techniques from Master Kwai, and while they couldn't beat him, they could force him back and push to a draw, as long as they worked together. Naruto felt at peace, and of course it was when he was at peace, that it seemed Kami like to shake up his life. Naruto-san. He turned to see Master Kwai coming towards him, a scroll in his hand. I need to discuss things with you and Micah-san. First, I have found something that will allow Q out of the seal so he may begin his teachings, however it is not without cost. Naruto looked at the Shaolin and waited. It would cost you and Micah-san something. The melody of the flute stopped and Micah rose from where he'd been sitting under the tree in Master Kwai's garden and he approached. What would it cost exactly? Micah asked. For Naruto, it would cost him some chakra. Master Kwai said, and both boys exchanged a glance. Well, that don't sound too bad. Naruto said. I have a lot of that. Indeed, nearly limitless now. Kwai agreed. His wizened eyes then turned towards Micah. For you, however, the cost would be much greater. You Kekkei Genkai, the blood fire you got from your father. In order to use this spell it would be SD as the main payment. Naruto swallowed and looked at Micah. Don't. We'll find another way, he said to his silver-haired friend. Or we won't, Micah said in thought. Was that all you were able to find in the Book of Ramhu? He asked their mentor. Hi. The only other option would be, Sai, it would take sacrificing a large group of people to perform a temporal jump. That isn't very precise or described. The author warned that it could result in the user's death. Naruto shook his head. I'll do it, Micah said. Nani? Naruto spun and looked at his friend. Why? Micah looked at him. Kyuubi has much to teach you, and me. If it costs me a Kekkei Genkai that I could care less about, then so be it. I still have my bloodline from my mother's side. I'm more comfortable with that. Micah told him, his golden eyes fixing on Naruto, begging him to let him do this to help. Naruto looked at Kwai. What will this do to Q-san? He asked the Shaolin monk. He will still be in you, but he will be able to be summoned out as a shade. Kwai explained. While he is out, you will be sharing your chakra with him. Master Kwai explained. Q. What do you think? Naruto asked. Kit, if this works, I've seen what shades can do, and I won't need chakra once I'm out. I should be able to use Vunla, so I won't put a drain on you. And you will explain Zetnins and Vunla in better detail, right? Naruto asked. Of course, Kit. To both you and the young dragon Hanyu. Kyuubi said. Stop calling him a Hanyu, please. Very well, Kit. Thank Micah for his S and tell Kwai we'll do this as soon as he's ready. Master Kwai. Naruto said, getting the monk's attention. Q says we can begin whenever you're ready. He then looked at Micah. And he says thank you for the S of your Kekkei Genkai. Micah shrugged. It helps us both in the end. Naruto nodded. You know, in Konoha, they would throw a fit if they heard about losing a bloodline like that. Well, it's a good thing only you and the old man knew about it before I left then. Micah said. He turned back to Master Kwai. What will we need to do? Konoha. Tsunade sighed as she read over the reports from the border patrol. In the past year, bandit sightings have dropped and reports that small villages had found someone to protect them. One of the reports sounded like it was Naruto and some kid with silver hair. She thought as she looked over another scroll. Shizune. She called out and her brunette apprentice came in with a stack of files. You have a meeting this morning with the new village council, and your afternoon session with the remaining Hyuga members with Jiraiya in the alteration of the caged bird seal. She said. Yes, yes. Where's that report from the hunter nins? Why haven't they caught Danzo or his root members yet? Shizune sighed. They went to ground. Reports came in that Danzo was seen in Otogakure. We sent in an assassination squad, but they never reported back. Shizune said as she shuffled folders. Tsunade sighed. Any sign of Naruto by any of the patrols or teams on missions? She asked as it had become her daily ritual since the blonde's exile 15 months ago. Sorry, no, Shizune said sadly. Tsunade looked at the file before her. There were less than 20 members of the Hyuga clan left. Hanabi, while recognized as the heir, now deferred judgment to a pair of branch members, Cho Hyuga and Lisu Hyuga. The two older women advised the young girl, and so far the Hyuga were recovering. Hinata had removed herself from her clan after that day. The day she rained vengeance down upon her clan for what they'd done. Anbu had waited outside the compound and killed those that tried to escape. The ones that Neji had removed were the only Hyuga left alive after that day. The altered seal, it blocks the theft of the Byakugan, but it can't be used for punishment anymore. Jiraiya had told her after he'd made the alterations to Neji's seal first under the watchful eyes of Hinata that day. Tsunade shook her head. Jiraiya's recovered from Hinata's vengeance then. She asked her assistant and friend. Hi. The paralysis wore off and he's able to gather chakra once more. Tsunade had been furious when she learned that Jiraiya's teaching method. Sadly, Hinata had heard her yelling, and once she touched Jiraiya and saw it, she'd unloaded on him. Where is Hinata this morning? She asked. Shizune smirked. I think. A scream from across the village could be heard, and Shizune continued as if nothing had happened. She's working with a genin about reading logography in public. Tsunade smirked. Over the past year, Hinata had gone out of her way to make Kakashi Hataki's life a living hell. On top of burning his collection of prized Ika books, Hinata would as the Hokage's apprentice pick a sparring partner. Kakashi had lost the use of his Sharingan in the first spar. Tsunade had been able to replace the damaged eye with a normal brown eye. Hinata seemed to pick up Naruto's pranking habits as Kakashi would appear around the village after a resulting explosion. One time his hair looked like a rainbow. Another time his clothes were dyed neon pink, and no one would sell clothes to him. His mask had been taken and Kakashi had spent weeks running away. Of village women and several shinobi chased after him asking for dates, marriage, or just outright Someone had spiked Kakashi's food with peanut butter and he'd broken out in a body-wide rash. Someone, guess who, had checked his medial records and found out he was allergic to peanut butter. Wonder what she's done to him this time. Shizune said as she continued to sort files. It's taking her a lot of time to go through his memories. He had a memory block on him for his time as an Anbu and she's slowly chipping away at it. Tsunade said. And I think she mentioned something about his summons needing a workout. In the distance they could hear a lot of dogs barking. How does she do that? Shizune wondered. No, not there. Not there. Pakkuuunn. Tsunade shook her head. I think she promised packin' steak dinner. As for how she deals with the summons, I think that's part of the spirit's domain. I've seen her with my slugs and Jiraiya's toads on several occasions and I didn't summon them, nor show her how. I checked the contract and she isn't listed either. The pair worked on the pile of paperwork. You know, if I didn't know better I'd say paperwork is a curse of some kind. It never goes away and it always multiplies. Tsunade said. Shizune smiled. Since Hinata had become Tsunade's apprentice, the Hokage had become more light-hearted, and drank less. She looked out the window and sent a silent prayer. Kami, please bring Naruto-kun back. If not for Lady Tsunade, then for Hinata. She's becoming more a beautiful young woman, and she's doing it for him. Port. I'm sorry Lady Tsunade, I must have zoned out, what was that? Shizune asked looking embarrassed. I asked for the medical report on Sakura. Shizune nodded and looked through her stack. Inaki says that she's finally responding to treatments, but it's slow going. He's going to walk her through her life and it will take time as they put her mind back together after Hinata's penance stare. Tsunade sighed. Tell him to keep on it. We'll see if we can recover her, but she backslides then next time she pisses off Hinata over Naruto I won't be looking for ways to help her. She's lucky she was left alive. Shizune said. Oh. Reports also on Sasuke. There was a spike in brain activity recently. Tsunade glared. Post a pair of Anbu outside his room. If that little S wakes up I plan on putting him on trial for that abandoning the village stunt he pulled. Tsunade looked out the window for a moment. Are you going to do something about the borders near Oto and Iwa? We'll discuss that in council. Have Shikamaru come up with some tactics. And you a meeting with the Kunoichi from Suna? Shizune asked. Tsunade sighed. Gaara's sister. She made a note on a scroll herself. Have her speak with Shikamaru. They seem to get along well. Tsunade thought as she looked at the stack of paperwork on her desk. Did this pile get bigger when I blinked? She asked Shizune, who looked at it and scratched her cheek and wondered the same thing. Mikahamaru Melwasu and Naruto Uzumaki sat back to back in the middle of a 6-point star circle. Runes were painted onto the stone floor and on the bare torsos. Master Kwai was finishing up putting symbols on Naruto's face and was arching the rune towards his back where he continued it on Mika's Enon face. This is taking forever, Naruto complained. The beginning of the spell is alchemy, it's a lost science from generations past. Some of which has been rediscovered, but the true mastery of it was lost in wars long ago. Kwai said as he continued to draw designs on the boys, his feet deftly stepping over the painted lines and runes on the floor. And hold still. He admonished Naruto, who was about to scratch his nose, but the Shaolin slapped his hand. Don't smear those or I'll have to wash you down and start over from the beginning. My butt fell asleep. Naruto complained. Hey, Mika, how you doing? Naruto asked. A soft snore was his only answer. You bastard, wake up. Mika snorted and opened his eyes. We ready yet? He asked, yawning. Kwai pulled the brush back and glared at the pair before him. No, stop moving and no talking. This is delicate work and a sigil designed wrong could KU, or worse. Worse. You never mentioned worse, Kwai Oji-san. Naruto said. I did, you were just too busy picking your nose. Remind Lord Kyuubi that you both will feel pain during the process. Hey Q. I heard him the first time, Kit. Meditate like your friend. Mika wasn't meditating, he was sleeping. Naruto countered. Or he meditated so deep it looked like he was asleep. The Kyuubi said, and Naruto could hear the chuckle in the demon fox's voice. Team. I'm surrounded by teams and perverts. Naruto mentally pouted. Since he'd been there he learned Master Kwai enjoyed reading those orange books, but at least he now only did it in his room since Mika and Naruto tried to get it away from him for reading it in the garden. Naruto also learned Q was a pervert and tried to get Naruto to look for a decent mate. Naruto threatened to put him in a pink collar and seal him in a room with disgusting childish things he'd seen other kids with when he was growing up. So far that kept Q silent. It was Mika that surprised him. His best friend when they went to the village was always surrounded by older women who asked him to play his flute. It was during that time that Naruto found out while he played Mika would use his wind affinity to have the air massage the women. Got to admit, he knows how to get them worked up. Kyuubi said. Stop. I can't believe he was doing that. Naruto griped. Kit, they enjoyed it, and it also helped him learn control. Kyuubi snickered. Remember the baker's wife? Naruto scowled. Oh, don't be like that, Kit. Her mousse was something, and she looked ravishing biting her lip while surrounded by the other women trying to keep quiet. Naruto shook his head. Q and Mika had given him a talk about Mika using a scroll from Master Kwai's vast library and explaining how they should wait until at least 16. Q on the other hand was pushing information on how to attract a mate, how to please her and how to bring her to multiple H Fox, Ero Q. Naruto thought. And proud of it. Kyuubi answered. Say, Kit, if you write to the toad pervert, see if he'll send you his complete works. From what I've seen of the ones Kwai has. Ero Fox. Naruto yelled out loud and Kwai paused in mid-brushstroke and looked at Naruto. Mika chuckled as he knew what was going on as Naruto had shared everything with him about the fox. Asking for Ika again. Mika asked, his voice low, a hint of a laugh in it. Damn pervy Kyuubi. Naruto mumbled and Kwai raised an eyebrow then chuckled. Naruto sulked. Perverts. Surrounded by perverts, he muttered. Micah laughed outright. Bro, everyone's a pervert on some level. Even you. Naruto would have jumped up, but the glare from Kwai kept him in his place, if barely. Nearly done with the preparations, boys, he told them. Naruto sighed. He'd thought about sending a message to Jiraiya several times and some of his friends back in Konoha, but he figured that they were probably all glad he was gone. I don't want to put Ero-sanin in a position to choose between me and Tsunade. Naruto thought sadly. He still remembered seeing her signature and the Hokage seal at the bottom of the scroll. It hurt every time he thought about it. You're afraid. Afraid that the Toad-sanin would choose Tsunade over you. You don't want to know if he would choose you. Q said sadly. Why would he choose me over his teammate? Naruto thought. I'm just an orphan with a demon in his belly. An exile that no one wanted in their precious village. Kit, when you're stronger, when I've taught you and Mikahamaru the way of the Zet, build an army and level it then. They don't care about you, so return the favor and the pain 100-fold. But what about my friends? What friends? The only one I've seen in your memories to treat you with any respect was that Hyuga girl and Mikahamaru and the third Hokage, F the rest of them. Q said. I earned the respect of the others over time. Bulls Kit. When that pink-haired Harridan attacked you after bringing back the Uchiha, not one of them stopped her from beating you down, adding to the wounds you had. The Hyuga girl spoke up. If she had more confidence she would make a fine mate, but she's so timid she scares herself. Hinata-chan just lacks confidence. You heard how her cousin talked to her, and from what I've seen over the years, her whole family treated her like that. Naruto from the shadows had seen how the others interacted with the families. His blue eyes held a hint of longing every day when the other students would be picked up by their mothers or fathers, or older siblings. Except Hinata. Naruto thought. She would be picked up by a branch member or that red-eyed woman who became her Jonin instructor. Village full of favoritism. The Uchiha will probably be made Hokage if he wakes up from that coma we put him in. Q taunted. Why are you sounding like this now? Naruto asked. Because Kit, they hurt you. All your life, you viewed your memories of the beatings, of the abuse over all the years. Even after you beat Gaara and Shukaku, they gave that win to the Uchiha. They called your win over the Hyuga prodigy a fluke. You went with the Toad Hermit and brought back the Slug Sannin to be Hokage, and still it got you nothing but contempt and scorn. Tell me, Kit, one thing that the Leaf Village has done for you. Konohamaru recognized me as a friend and rival. He sees me as his older brother. Hinata's always been nice to me, even if she's a bit weird. Iruka-sensei. Yes, Yumino. Let's talk about him for a moment. Did he help you over the years? No. He made fun of you in class and wouldn't help you learn. When you asked, he'd make fun of you and leave you on your own. He did nothing till it was nearly too late. I'll give him that, but he doesn't deserve the term of Sensei Kit. It took nearly 15 months to clean up your taijutsu of constant work, the same with your chakra control. If he had been a sensei, he would have taught you properly, not wait to care till you had a powerful scroll in your hands to keep it out of others' hands. QB said. We'll talk more of this when I'm out and about, Kit. The monk is ready, I believe. Naruto opened his eyes and saw Kwai out of the circle and putting his brush and paint aside. He took several deep breaths. Are you both ready? He asked. Hi. Micah said, and Naruto could feel him tremble against his back slightly. Bring it on, Kwai Oji-san. Naruto said, flashing the Shaolin a fox-like grin. Brace yourselves, here comes the pain. Kwai said, and his hands were a blur of motion as he did nearly 100 hand signs in less than half a minute. He clapped his hands together and slammed them down onto the circle on a pair of runes. There was a flash of light and Naruto saw red energy crackle before he and Micah were screaming in pain. In his mind he could hear Kyuubi's own pain-filled cry mix with his. The runes on their bi glowed with a red-white light and lightning crackled over their skin. Both were soon surrounded by Kit fire and Naruto's yells became growls, and behind him Micah could be heard growling as well. Kwai looked on, his hands still planted on the runes, his wizened eyes watching. Naruto's blue eyes became red with SS, and the mirror that Kwai set up he could see Micah's face and saw the golden eyes become reptilian and red veins form around the iris. Both boys arched their backs and their howls of pain became mixed. Wind whipped around and Kwai saw that the candles were being lifted into the air, but they didn't warble once. He saw cracks appearing along the floor and the nearby trees seemed to be reaching out. Kwai wondered which of the two that was. It could have been an eternity, or it could have been a couple of minutes, but slowly the red light faded as did the white lightning. The candles lowered back down. Kwai watched as the runes melted into the boy's skin. The last of the red energy faded and both boys slumped back, smoke rising from their skin. Kwai finally sat back and saw his hands were red as if blistered. He stroked a hand through his beard and quirked an eyebrow. Now, we wait, he muttered. Konoha. Tsunade looked at the new village council, and she was not impressed. Wonder if I can get Hinata in here to do clean up again. Tsunade thought as the new group were just as short-sighted as the previous group. He should be marked as a missing nin. Koko Haruno yelled. Tsunade sighed. Why did they have to put that loud pink-haired banshee on the council? I swear Kami hates me. Tsunade thought. Uzumaki Naruto will not be marked as a missing nin. Tsunade said loudly, cutting off everyone. The previous council forged my signature and stole the Hokage seal to exile him. I have teams on the lookout for him to get him back here. Naruto is a hero of this village and you people better shape up. Or what, Lady Tsunade? One arrogant merchant asked. You will meet the same fate as your predecessors. Everyone turned to a shadowed form near the entrance and many of them shifted their seats back as Hinata stepped further into the room. Tsunade looked at her apprentice and nodded to her. Hinata shifted back to normal in an eye blink. Anno, Shizune asked me to remind you, Lady Tsunade, that Gaara wishes to speak with you after you're done with these people. Hinata said, giving the Hokage a bow, while her eyes showed disdain for the gathered council. Hinata turned to go, she stopped hearing a council member mutter, damn demon whore should be run out of town. And pray tell Honorable Bulma-san, are you to go against a creation of Kami? Several people could be heard swallowing as Hinata turned once more to face the gathered council. Lady Tsunade allowed this council to be reformed out of the kindness of her heart. You fools all need to remember the council is here to advise and help with the administration of paperwork, not dictate affairs. Less than a month gathered and already you are making the same mistakes as the previous council. Tsunade shook her head. Hinata had become very protective of people she knew were precious to Naruto before his exile. Don't waste the chance you've been given, and should any of you go against the Hokage, or Naruto-kun, then you go against me. With that Hinata shushined out of the room. Tsunade looked at the gathered council. Now, you all will report to the Hokage Tower for assignments. I will no longer be doing everyone's paperwork. I will only be doing what is needed to be done by the Hokage. Village matters like merchants and day-to-day operations are yours. The ninja and overall is mine. If I find any more paperwork for foolish matters on my desk, or if one of you inserts a replication rune on a paper on my desk again, I will deal with you personally. Tsunade punched the wall behind her and it exploded into gravel. And if any of you try anything against Hinata, well, I'm sure she won't leave much of you to deal with. She is vengeance given F. She's very protective of Naruto and those he felt were precious to him. And there are nin in this village that are the same way. If this council becomes a hindrance, I will dissolve it. You can't, the fire daimyo. I have his full support. He was most displeased to hear what this village has done not only to a hero like Naruto, but to a son of a Hokage. You lie. Haruno screeched. That thing isn't Namikaze's son. It's all propaganda. Nope. It is the truth. But then again, you need to be stupid not to see the resemblance. But I guess Konoha isn't as special as everyone thinks. If you missed the lesson a year ago, then you truly are stupid. Tsunade turned and walked away. Siaruka for your assigned stations, and I hope you all know how to write your names, cause you're going to be doing a lot of paperwork. Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes. He closed them at the bright light and realized that the sun was up, meaning he'd been out all night long. You okay? Naruto thought. Naruto sat up blinking when he didn't get a response. He looked around and saw he was in his bed inside the temple. He saw he was still wearing his pants and he dug around for a shirt and pulled it on when he hit the door and went and saw Micah still unconscious in his own bed. Naruto went through the temple corridors and his eyes found Master Kwai sitting on his cushion sipping his tea. Naruto blinked seeing a tall man outlined in blue, and he could see through him. The man had to be at least 6'8". He had long red hair and his clothes here black. He wore a robe that was a red-brown that reminded Naruto of fox fur. The man turned to Naruto and he smirked. Q. Naruto asked, seeing the red eyes with the SS. The man nodded and Naruto saw he had a trimmed beard and mustache, think of Obi-Wan's style. Hey Kit, Q said, his voice still deep. Sleep well? The shade asked. How? Naruto blinked. Why are you human? Q chuckled and looked at Kwai. It is my fault, I am afraid. I wasn't focused on the form I would use. Q admitted. It is my fault actually, Naruto-san. Kwai admitted. I neglected to inform you and Kyuubi-sama that he would need to pick his form. Since he didn't and you were his host, his shade is human. Naruto blinked. See, can you become a fox still? He asked. Kyuubi sighed. We made a few mistakes, Kit. I'm out of you, you still have my chakra, and I'm stuck like this. He gestured to himself with a gloved hand. Naruto came closer and reached out and found his hand passing through Q. You're a ghost. Shade. I can use Vunla with no problems. Well, it took me almost all night to move a teacup, but I should be back up to par by the end of the week and ready to train you and Micah in the way of the Zet. Naruto looked at the shade before him. I messed up. You're like this forever. Kyuubi sighed and looked at Kwai. You did nothing wrong, Kit. This was no way your fault. Kyuubi said. Kyuubi-sama, what do you plan on doing with them? Master Kwai asked, sipping his tea. I will need you to open a portal for me. I'm taking them to the Undervis. I need to take them to the demon graveyard and begin their training in the ways of the Zet. How will you return? Kwai asked, a hint of concern in his voice for the two boys he'd come to care for over the last 17 months. I know people on the other side. A few owe me. When it's time we shall return. Kyuubi looked at Naruto. We'll leave at the end of the week, Kit. Rest up. Once we cross over your training begins again, and our dynamic will change once again. What do you mean, Q? Naruto asked. You and Mikahamaru will be my apprentices, or Baiti in the old tongue. In turn you will call me master. Naruto frowned at that. Don't give me that look, Kit. Senpai, sensei, master are all forms of respect. While you are my Baiti, I am your teacher, and you are my apprentices. I will teach you both all I know. Naruto sighed. I just keep going from one perverted sensei to another. Kakashi, Ebisu, Jiraiya, Master Kwai and now Master Q. He looks up at the ceiling. Do you hate me for some reason, Kami? Kwai and Kyuubi chuckle. Don't you know, Kit, she has a wicked sense of humor. Mikahamaru woke hours later and was introduced to Master Q as he was to be called. How are we to move about here with you, sensei? Micah asked as they ate breakfast. When we come back I should be able to turn invisible. It's just taking me time to reconnect to the Vunla. Q said as he watched the pair of boys demolish a meal that should have fed a dozen people. Q swore he would explain about Zetnin and Vunla once they crossed to the Undervis as he called it. And what is the Undervis? Micah asked. It is a world parallel with this one where demons and humans live side by side. It is a step down from heaven and hell, the rumors go. Not even the demon lords such as I know for certain, as we all fear to cross that barrier. Q explained as he drifted over the ground. The shade seemed more solid than the first day, but you could still see through him. This is as solid as I can get. But my control of the Vunla has improved where I can do this. Q said, and Micah felt a light smack across the back of his head. I can show you much. You both need to not judge by appearances. Look at me. You judged me by my lack of solidity, and yet I can toss you around. For my ally is the Vunla, and a powerful ally it is. The week passed quickly after that. Naruto and Micah packed and returned the swords to Master Kwai. Won't you need them? He asked, looking at Kyuubi. No, once they have gotten to a point in their training they will be making their own blades. And if they need swords in Undervis, trust me when I say that the Undervis will provide. So it was that they stood outside the Shaolin temple as the sun was setting. 2 runes had been carved into the dirt and Master Kwai was chanting. An orb hovered in the air before him, it pulsed with power and glowed an eerie red with sparks of green. Remember when we reach the other side, don't wander off. Undervis is different and innocent-looking things can be fiends in disguise. Q warned them. What do you mean fiends? Micah asked. Hey, well, humans and demons live in relative peace. But there are fiends or monsters that are like wild animals, and they attack the unwary or unprepared. Q said. Naruto huffed, and we're just leaving our swords here, why Q-sama? Naruto asked. He really hated using the respectful tones to anyone, but Q said that if could cause trouble on the other side if he didn't. Naruto would have argued the point, but Micah said Master Q knew the Undervis, they needed to trust him. Master Kwai finished chanting and his hands flashed through over 200 hand signs before he touched the orb hovering in front of him. A crackle of energy and the two boys and Shade watched as a white bolt of lightning laced out and struck the first rune on the ground, and then a bolt leapt from that rune to the other one. The orb moved to hover in the air between them and it formed a pyramid-shaped rift that seemed to shimmer like water in the air. Think similar to the Stargate portal. Q went and looked over his shoulder. See you on the other side, boys. He hovered there a moment and passed on to the other side. Micah went next. He took a deep breath and stepped in. The portal rippled with his passing and settled back to normal in seconds. Naruto looked at Master Kwai who was sitting with his eyes closed. Goodbye Kwai Oji-san, Naruto said and stepped into the portal. It pulsed and then winked shut. The orb lowered to the ground and the runes faded from the dirt in which they'd been carved. Master Kwai sat still, his eyes closed. Good journey Naruto-san. May fate and destiny be kinder to you in the future. And with that, Master Kwai Chang Kane, Shaolin monk and sorcerer supreme, faded away, his spirit finally finding peace. Konoha. Hinata sat atop the Hokage monument. Her white eyes looking down upon the village she'd called home since birth. In the past 17 months she'd changed and grown. Her confidence since becoming host for the Spirit of Vengeance. She'd learned its name was Jarkala and it had many lessons to teach her. Jarkala had taught her to be sure of herself, how to carry herself. Jarkala told her that it was neither male nor female, it just was. Hinata was the 12th host since its creation. Hinata spent days in the memories of the spirit's previous host, Kushina Uzumaki Kazama Namikaze. She'd learned that Kushina was Naruto's mother, that they'd used the Kazama name as a misdirection to hide that Minato was her husband, the famed yellow flash of Konoha, the Yondaime Hokage. She'd learned that the fourth would live with Kushina under a elaborate disguise jutsu that was attacked to her lace. Hinata cried in joy when Kushina found out she was pregnant, the look on Minato's face when she told him he was going to be a father. Hinata felt her fear when the Kyuubi was announced attacking Leaf Nins. Kushina going into labor while trying to evacuate civilians. She remembered Kushina going into labor and the pain. Hinata saw Naruto for the first time as he took his first breath in the world, and a nurse taking him away. She saw Danzo enter the hospital room and inject Kushina with a poison while a masked root operative held her down. She was took weak to fight after giving birth, and Jarkala howled in fury as his host was killed by someone they'd considered ally. Hinata hated Danzo with each passing moment. She'd seen the reports on Lady Tsunde's desk saying he'd joined up with Orochimaru and the Sound Village. Hinata thought of going and enacting vengeance, but she knew that while she might be a lot stronger, her of the Hyuga clan showed that she wasn't ready for an all-out assault on Otogakure. Soon. The more past memories I awaken, the stronger we become. Hinata thought. Stronger still we will become. Your willpower is increasing daily Hina-chan, Jarkala said in her mind. Hinata thought about the memories she'd seen in Kakashi's aura. She was sickened with how the former Jonin acted towards Naruto, and she was scared what she would find behind the mental block. She'd uncovered it in layers. When he was an Anbu he allowed villagers to harm Naruto, and would only jump in if another Anbu was closing in, making it seem like he was doing his job. Hinata thought. The day she'd seen that memory she'd unleashed Pakken on Kakashi. The Nin dogs had voided the summoning contract with him. Hinata looked at the scroll on her hip pouch. She'd gained that contract fair and square. Anno, and Tsunade asked me how I keep coming up with the slugs and toads. Hinata thought with a slight smile. And to think she doesn't know about the wolves and the monkeys, Jarkala thought back. The other two contracts Hinata liberated from the council's vault. They stole the monkey contract after the third was made. When Konohamaru is older I will pass it on to him. Hinata thought. And the wolf and dog contracts. I think I will offer the wolf contract to Kiba's sister, Hana. I am surprised the council had that one hidden away. It is cause they didn't want the Inuzukas to have more power. They feared them as they were nearly as powerful as the prized Uchiha clan. Speaking of that clan, the Falcon contract, Hinata paused. The scroll is in possession of the rogue. The one you call Itachi. Hinata paused, then Anno, Jarkala-sama, what we learned about Itachi all those months ago. I know he did what he did to save Naruto, but I learned from the reports on Lady Tsunade's desk that he is now part of that organization Akatsuki that wants to harm him. I do not know what to think about his actions. Sigh, I am not sure either Hina-chan. From the aura I read on Hatake, the Toad Pervert, and the Hokage, Itachi Uchiha was looking for Naruto, but he didn't do nothing to harm him in their encounter other than ask him to go with them. We will need to read his aura to be sure of his attentions. Hinata sighed. Damn, she muttered aloud. And right now Lady Tsunade has forbidden us from leaving Konoha. I can understand as I'm still undergoing training with her and I am a genin. With power equal to a Sannin right now. But you don't have the control yet. And with each passing day you are getting better. Soon there will be little difference between us. I am you are me, and in the end we are vengeance. Hinata smiled as she watched several fireflies rise up in the grass as night began to fall. She wasn't bothered that she'd sat here nearly all day speaking with the spirit. She would do that for days on end. Do you wish to speak with your cousin and sister? Jarkala asked. Not really, why? Hinata thought. Because they are behind you, and I've distracted you long enough. Speak with them, child, they don't hate you, and they mean you no harm. Neji is radiating concern for you and your sister is a cornucopia of emotions, but none of them are fear or hatred, the spirit said and fell silent in the back of her mind. Hello Neji-sama, Lady Hyuga. Hinata said, not turning around, but she could feel both flinch at her form of address. Lady Hinata, Neji said formally. 2 years ago this would have been said with venom and hate. Now it was filled with sadness and regret. You have been avoiding everyone again. He accused her. Hinata shrugged a shoulder. Tired of being looked at and people wondering if I'm going to eat their souls. She said, her voice still soft and tired sounding. Nay-san, you wouldn't do that. Hanabi spoke up. You care too much. Hinata looked over her shoulder at her sister and sighed. You used to call that weakness, Lady Hyuga. Hinata said. Hanabi took a step towards her. Hinata, Nay-san, please, don't distance yourself. I miss you. I ked your father and most of the clan. Hinata said. You ked traitors and the man who made mother. Hanabi said. I was blinded by what Hiashi told me since I could remember. But I remember you, no matter what I said or did to you, you cared. I want my sister back. Hinata sighed. Hinata Hyuga 17 months ago. I am Hinata Jarkala. No, you are my sister. I don't care if you are in a symbiotic relationship with a vengeance spirit, or you marry that boy you like. I just want my Nay-san back. Hanabi was standing behind the sitting Hinata now and the older girl could hear tears in her voice. What of the survivors? How do they feel? Hinata asked. Neji crouched and put a hand on her shoulder. The members of the branch family see you as their saving grace. Now there are no more main or branch Hyuga, there is just one big Hyuga clan. You saved us from the caged bird, and freed us all to make choices. The members of the main branch you spared showed them that you can be vengeful and merciful at the same time. Hanabi said. Alundra, by the way, gave birth to a set of twins, a boy and a girl. Hinata looked over her shoulder at Hanabi. She asked me to request you stop by and visit. If you hadn't destroyed the elders and those that betrayed Konoha, one of them would be cursed with the caged bird seal, and the other would have been moved into learning guard duty for me. Hinata sighed. When I fought Hiashi, I was so mad at what I read in his aura. It stank of corruption, and when I searched his mind, I was disgusted by what I saw. He wasn't a man that we would ever call father. He was corrupted by power long before he married mother. He was a loveless monster that she tried to make into a man, but it cost her life and nearly ours in the end. Hinata, Neji said, drawing her attention. Tenten asked me to remind you that you are invited to our home. Remember, no alcohol, as Lee tends to become unmanageable and I do not want my first night in our new apartment to be amid debris. Hinata smiled. So the three of you have figured it out? She asked, and Neji blushed a bit. Hanabi outright laughed at her older cousin. I do not think those were the fires of youth your sensei was talking about, Neji Oniazan. She said teasingly. Brat, he muttered. I can't explain it really. He sighed. I blame Uzumaki. It was after he defeated me in the Chunin exams, but before that disaster that became the Uchiha retrieval. Hinata turned to listen, giving him her full attention. The Konoha 10 knew that the best way to get her attention was to talk about Naruto and what he meant to each of them. I was on patrol with Tenten. It was shortly after Uzumaki brought Lady Tsunade back. He was at one of the abandoned training grounds outside the walls. We came upon him fighting with his clones. There were over 100 of them and he was pure movement. His fighting style was rough and I couldn't believe that this was the genin that beat me. Neji admitted. But the more we watched him, we saw there was a simple grace to his movements. Neji smirked. Lee of course would have yelled out about his passion and such. But it was Tenten who called out to him. Neji smiled at the memory. She got his attention just as one of his clones pulled this weird combo that looked like a whip crack where they swung another around and it kicked him into the stream. Neji chuckled. Tenten was mortified thinking she had caused him to be hurt, and dove in after him. I watched as the clones kept fighting as if this was a common occurrence, and one of them was cheeky. What? Hinata asked surprised. His clones can act independently from him. Surprised me, I thought they were all controlled by him, but, Neji shrugged. It asked me if I was going to help my girlfriend get, the boss, out of the drink, and then it got hit and puffed away. Neji looked out over Konoha. Then another one asked how my boyfriend was doing in the hospital. I froze for a moment and turned to demand what it meant. Neji chuckled. I was drawn into a spa and answering insane questions, my attention fully away from the river. I answered that neither Tenten nor Lee were associated with me like that. Then one clone asked me why not. I said it would be looked down by the elders, and the clone laughed and said so. Neji smiled at that memory and both sisters liked the fact he was more relaxed now. It said that it knew that Lee liked me like that as Naruto had spent a lot of time visiting, Bushy Brow, as Naruto called Lee. It then asked me why not Tenten and I told it why she wouldn't like a marked man like me. I was servant of the Hyuga main house. I would marry who they told me to. Hanabi looked sad and Hinata knew that would have been true. Then the clone said what would I do if I could go where my heart wanted. I laughed at it and said I'd be torn in two, because ever since I first met Lee and Tenten I've worn a mask of indifference. Why would they want a cold-hearted bastard like me who tormented his own cousin because he thought she was weak, when in fact I was the weak one? Neji turned and looked at Hinata. You are 1,000,000 times stronger than I ever was. You wanted Naruto and you fought to be yourself, not the F-golem Hiashi was trying to make you. Hinata put a hand on his shoulder. I never blamed you, Neji. I always thought of you as my brother. She said. Neji gave her a soft sad smile. I blame myself. All those years wasted when I could have known you and been not only a friend, but your brother. Hanabi looked at the pair and knew she wanted her sister back. So, what did you answer the Uzumaki clone? She asked. I didn't. Tenten wrapped me in a hug from behind and held me. She told me she saw through my mask long ago. Her and Lee were waiting for me to come around my own way. Neji chuckled. I was shocked that Tenten and Lee were already in a relationship and they were waiting for me. Naruto told me to talk with Lee. He said I would be happy, and he would do all he could to make it happen. Neji sighed. I did talk a lot with Lee and Tenten. Then that damned Uchiha ran off. Neji looked over the village. Sometimes I wonder if Naruto had been treated properly would he have made the impacts he did on people. He changed me, and I like who I'm becoming. I want him here for the day when Tenten marries Lee and I. Hinata smiled. He will be. I can feel it, she said putting a hand over her heart. Naruto-kun will come back. Jarkin feels that Naruto needs this journey to grow. We all do, she said looking back over the village. You know Naruto always came up here to think, and I like the view myself. It is a peaceful place to think. Hanabi put a hand on Hinata's shoulder. Will you please come to the new compound? I want to know you better now that Hiashi's manipulations are being cleared away. I will visit, but I cannot be a Hyuga. That path closed to me the day I made the pact with Jarkin. Someday I might join another family. Namikaze. Neji coughed the name and Hinata glared at him. If Naruto wishes it, I have watched him for a very long time. You cannot force Naruto to do things he does not want. I hope that one day I can be what he wants and needs, but I need to grow first. At the academy he saw me as this weird stuttering girl. As genin he saw me as a shy stuttering fellow nin that he cheered on. Neji laughed. Hinata, he took the blood you coughed up on the arena floor and swore on it to beat me. He didn't do that for the Haruno. And yes, he saved her from Gaara, but he didn't boast or brag about it. I heard Hitaki gave the credit to the Uchiha who didn't do anything during the fight. Hinata's eyes narrowed and her mind found the memory. I think I have a certain genin to Tortu, I mean train with tomorrow. That's downright scary when you switch voices like that, Neji said with a smile. But you're still our Hinata. How about dinner? Hanabi asked. Ramen, Hinata suggested and both Hyuga looked at her. It's tasty and I see why Naruto-kun likes it. Besides Tsuki and Ayami are warm and friendly. Ichiraku ramen it is then. Neji said. I heard he refuses service to those who have wronged Naruto. Hi. Tsunade gives him compensation for Naruto not being there and eating. I know her and Shizune eat lunch there every other day. Hinata confessed. Choji, Shikamaru and Kiba eat there daily now. Neji said. It's become an unofficial hangout for the Konoha rookies. Neji remembered Lee's attempt to beat Naruto's record the first time there. Poor Lee had been in the hospital for a couple days after that attempt. Some of my classmates eat there as well. Hanabi said. Hinata paused and then remembered Hanabi's fellow classmates. Hanabi, do you know Konohamaru, Udon and Mogi? Hanabi paused hearing Hinata call her by her name again, then her brain restarted. Yes, he's changed a bit over the past year and a half, she said. I've never seen someone become so focused before. Hinata sighed. He sees Naruto as an older brother. His exile hit him hard. Hanabi nodded remembering Konohamaru missing a week of classes before Iruka-sensei had dragged him back. He wore a bright orange jacket and those ugly goggles, but he was more serious now. Mogi and Udon followed his examples and she'd seen him interact with other adults. He was respectful to some, but others he outright cursed and they usually ended up pranked a day later. Nothing led back to the young Sarutobi, but he would share a look with Iruka-sensei who would nod and continue lessons. No patrols have seen him, and none of our allies have either. It's like he vanished off the face of the earth, Hinata said. Jiraiya-san says his spy network hasn't found a trace, and both Oto and Akatsuki are at a loss as well. Rummaging the Hokage's files, Neji teased. Nope. As her apprentice I get to file them all properly, of course I just happen to read them first, especially for news about Naruto related in any shape or form. The trio continued to walk, they talked about light things, Hanabi telling Hinata she could have clan leader back. There was just too much paperwork. Not only do I have lessons and work from school, but I also have lessons and paperwork from Lee Su-san and Cho-san. They both are relentless in their lessons. Hinata laughed. Etiquette lessons. Wait till they start on the marital lessons. How a proper wife should act in private, in public. What a clan leader should say and what you shouldn't. Hinata laughed. I do not miss those lessons. Neji shuddered. I remember those. While you were being taught that I was being taught how to be your bodyguard, and let me tell you Ken-sama was a drill sergeant in how one was to move around the protectorate. The three reached Ichiraku Ramen and their banter continued on past lesson, unaware that soon danger would come knocking. Across town in the hospital a pair of eyes opened for the first time in nearly 17 months. Dobe. A voice croaked from Desue's. X. That will be all for this video, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.